welcome back to another edition of the GSMC College Football Podcast, presented to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. Today is Thursday, May 22nd. We're almost there. We're almost to the end of the week. Got a good show for you today. First, we're going to go over some programs that I think could break through their respective ceilings. I'm going to talk about a potential college football playoff contender in Oregon. Could they break through and get to that next level? We're also going to talk on, has the Big Ten officially overtaken the SEC? It's a big debate. It can go either way, honestly. We're going to dive into kind of breaking that down, why each side has a legitimate reason. We're also going to talk a little bit about some of the can't-miss, must-see matchups of the 2025 season, some rivalry games, some out-of-conference games, a good mixture, but we're going to talk about that as well. And then make sure you stick around for the end of the show. We're going to finish off my SEC rankings. We got the top 3 teams today. We made it to the end. So stick around for that last segment when we're going to rank and unveil those final 3 teams. But before I get into anything else, I want to remind everybody, this show is all about you. We love hearing your comments, your questions, your opinions, your insights, your hot takes, whatever you got. We want to hear it. We want to make this show as interactive, as exciting as possible. Now, if you're on YouTube, one easy way to do that is to use the Super Chat feature. To use the Super Chat feature, all you have to do is click the $ at the bottom of the chat box, type in your message there, send that in. This guarantees that your message gets on the air, gets read live. It's also just a great way to support our channel, support what we're trying to build here at GSMC. And if Super Chat's not your thing, if you're not on YouTube, you can also go to GSMCPodcast.net to tip, donate, leave a comment or question there. Again, that is GSMCPodcast.net. We are so grateful for all of your support, and we're so happy to have you here as a part of our community at the GSMC Podcast Network. Now, let's talk about some programs that I think have some breakthrough potential. I want to start with Oregon. Now, Oregon, yes, obviously kind of broke through last year, undefeated regular season, Big Ten champions in their first year in the Big Ten, number 1 overall seed in the college football playoff, but they lose their first game. They got the first round bye. They end up losing to Ohio State, the eventual national champion. Is this going to be the year that they can finally break through, exercise that demon, get a national championship? I think it's very possible. This is a super deep Oregon team, and a team that has talent across the board. Starting at quarterback, yes, quarterback is going to be the big question mark here, the big kind of what's going to happen. It sounds like it's going to be Dante Moore. Austin Novosad, he's still kind of in contention right now. Not a bad option himself, but this seems like it's Dante Moore's team. This seems like it's his time. Former 5-star quarterback, guy that started 5 or 6 games for UCLA in 2023 as a true freshman, then transferred to Oregon last year, sat the entire year behind one of the most experienced college football starters ever in Dylan Gabriel, sat behind Dylan Gabriel, learned how to be a quarterback, how to prepare, how to be a successful, big-time, big-program quarterback, and a guy that has the talent, has the pedigree to back it up. It's going to be really interesting to see. They have some continuity there with their offensive coordinator, and will Dante Moore kind of be able to step into that role, step into that system, and perform up to expectations? I think that's going to be one of the big hallmarks of what's going to happen with Oregon with that kind of entire season. But not looking at quarterback, looking across this roster. This is a deep Ducks team. You lose Jordan James, your leading rusher. How do you replace him? You bring in a guy in Mekhi Hughes from Tulane, who has had 2,800 rushing yards in the past 2 seasons, and also caught 19 passes last year. So a guy that's going to take over as your lead bell cow running back, a guy that's been super impressive on one of the best group of 5 programs in Tulane. I think he's going to step in right away and take over that number 1 running back role, be a guy that Oregon can lean on in the running game. You also still have Noah Whittington there too, a guy that's super experienced, been in college for about 5 years now. he's going to get plenty of snaps, plenty of reps. Had 540 rushing yards last year. Going to be that kind of change of pace back. But that 1-2 punch of Mekhi Hughes, Noah Whittington is a dangerous combination in the backfield. Wide receivers, yes, you lose Tez Johnson, you lose Terrence Ferguson, you lose Trayshawn Holder, but you still have Evan Stewart. He's going to be that wide receiver 1. You have Jeremiah McClellan, Malik Benson, kind of in competition to be that Z wideout. And, oh yeah, you got the number 1 receiver in the country this year coming in, Dante Moore, a guy that could earn a starting role right away, could potentially have that kind of impact that we saw from freshman wide receivers Jeremiah Smith, Ryan Williams last year at Ohio State and Alabama respectively. So that's another really big, intriguing option is, will this kid get reps as a starter right away? Will he kind of work his way into that role? But Dante Moore should not be overlooked here at all. Offensive line is kind of going to be a toss-up. They brought in a couple transfers, but again, still deep. And then on defense, you have Barry Alexander at nose tackle, a guy that's kind of bounced around a couple programs. And then Mateo Uagalele, that's going to be your main edge rusher, your guy that's going to get after the passer. 10 sacks last year, really big breakout 2024. He's kind of expected to have an even bigger 2025 season. So Mateo Uagalele, that's going to be a guy that I think is going to have a really, really great season for the Ducks. You still have Bryce Bocher coming back after he got granted another year of eligibility. That's a guy that played in all 14 games for Oregon last year, 13 starts at inside linebacker, won the Burlsworth Trophy last season as the nation's most outstanding player who started as a walk-on. So he's got that grit, that chip on the shoulder that all walk-ons pretty much have. Blake Purchase, another guy that's going to be in there. Devin Jackson stepping up, progressing through the depth chart there. Then you have Dylan Thieneman in the secondary. The other corner's kind of up for grabs right now, but Brandon Johnson leaving at safety, that's going to leave a hole for sure. But you have Dalen Austin, you have Jaden Kennedy coming in that are capable replacements. And you also have another 5-star in Trey McNutt, safety DB kind of. That's a kid that could also potentially earn early playing time for Oregon. And this is a manageable schedule. You only have to go to Penn State in terms of big-time road games. Iowa, you also have to travel to. Iowa's a tough place to play. There's no debate about that. But then you get Indiana at home. You avoid Ohio State. You avoid Michigan. This is a very winnable schedule for Oregon, and they should kind of progress through here. I think they have the team. They have the talent. They have the coaching staff to potentially compete for a national championship. I think a lot of it rests on Dante Moore's shoulders as the quarterback. How's he going to perform? Will he kind of step up to the plate there? That's going to be a big question mark here for Oregon. But all the pieces are in place. It's just time to take that last final step. Another team that I think all the pieces are kind of in place right now, Louisville. Now Louisville, they're probably shooting for a little lower expectations here, but they are very much a player for the ACC championship. Look at what they've done under Jeff Brom the past 2 seasons. 19-8 in 2 years, and they've been really, really close. They have to avoid kind of the clunker loss, though. Last year, they lost to 3-9 Stanford. 2 years ago, lost to 3-9 Pitt. But returning production's good. They had a solid portal, and it's their time now. You have another transfer quarterback coming in. Jeff Brom going to try to go 3 for 3, bringing in Miller Moss. I think he's a guy that's more talented than the past 2 quarterbacks that he's had in Jack Plummer and Tyler Shupp. And Jeff Brom, kind of a quarterback whisperer, honestly. If you look at his track record, look at what he's done as a coach, this is a guy that knows how to get the best out of his quarterbacks. Miller Moss is going to be really intriguing there after he kind of had a up and down 2024 season, got replaced as USC's starter. He's going to take over, and there's a lot of potential there. Then you look at some of the other pieces for Louisville. Their running back duo. Man, this is a duo here. Isaac Brown, Duke Watson, both true sophomores. Isaac Brown last year, 1,170 rushing yards, 7 yards per carry, 11 touchdowns with a long of 77, also had 30 catches. Duke Watson, 597 yards on 67 carries. That's an 8.9 yards per carry average. A guy that also had 7 touchdowns, also had a long of 68 on the season. So both of those guys, home run hitters, dynamic rushers. It's one of the best backfields in the country, I think. They're both still young. They're both still growing. And while Isaac Brown's the 1,000-yard rusher, that argument could be made that Duke Watson is more explosive, more dynamic of those two options. You add in Keywan Brown as your third option there, and that is a scary, scary running back room for Louisville, a room they can lean on when the passing game's not really going great. Wide receiver-wise, you have Chris Bell, you have Colin Lacey coming back. Antonio Meeks coming in, had a great spring. Dakari Collins coming in from North Carolina State, a really solid addition. So that passing group is still really great. There's a couple really solid options there. Colin Lacey is going to be really interesting too. Kind of showed what he can do in the Sun Bowl, where he had almost 100 receiving yards and a receiving touchdown in that bowl game. That's a guy that could be in line for a big breakout 2025 season. O-line kind of an overhaul, but I think they're going to figure that out. Then on defense, you look at this is a really great defense. They held its own last year. They should hold its own again. You do lose Ashton Gillette to the draft, but you bring in Cleve Lubin Jr. from Coastal Carolina. That's a guy that had 9.5 sacks last year. You have a guy in Adonijah Green who's just teeming with NFL-level potential. You also have a couple guys at defensive tackle that they brought in who could solidify that spot on the D-line. Then you bring back TJ Quinn, your leading tackler over the past 2 seasons. That's a big deal. He's going to have to improve in coverage, but just having that veteran presence, that guy that's in the locker room there, it's going to help. And then Stan Clark, too. If you probably ask a Louisville fan, they'd say this guy is the most likely to be a star, a linebacker that could really, really grow into a big-time role for 2025. Secondary's got question marks, that's for sure. And that's going to be the big thing here. Last year, Louisville was 7-0 when allowing quarterbacks to complete less than 65% of their passes. And they were 2-4 when they allowed quarterbacks to complete more than 65% of their passes. Isn't great. They're going to have to tighten up that pass defense, but that's going to be the big key here. But all the pieces are in place. This could be a team that really makes a jump under Jeff Brom in year 3. Another team I'm looking at, Texas Tech. Now, Texas Tech, they're going to be really interesting. This is a team that had 8 wins last year, completely hit the portal hard, bringing in a ton of guys that were all conference, all honorable mention, just different types of caliber players, guys that could really step in and help them. You think of David Bailey coming in from Stanford in the spring portal. That's a guy on the defensive end who has all-American potential. He's that good. He's going to step in right away, be one of those impact edge rushers. You still have Baron Morton at quarterback. You're going to have to replace Taj Brooks. That's going to be a big question mark, is how do you replace him? He's probably the greatest running back in Texas Tech history. It's going to be almost impossible to fully replace his production, what he brought to the table for the Red Raiders, but they're going to have to find a way to do it. They're going to need to be able to run the ball in the Big 12. You got a couple different guys that all could potentially take over as that lead back, but that's going to be a big question mark. Then you have to dominate the line of scrimmage this year. O-line really had problems protecting the quarterback last year, and the Big 12, they're filled right now with NFL-level D linemen, linebackers, guys that are going to get after the quarterback. They're going to have to step up. They're going to have to protect Baron Morton this year. Then defensively, you're going to have to limit the big plays. That's going to be a big thing to work on. This has kind of been an issue, honestly, since Mike Leach left Texas Tech. It's been an issue for a while. There's a bunch of DBs that they brought in through the portal. Those guys have to step up this year. You have to put pressure on the quarterback as well. We talked about that O-line keeping Baron Morton upright. They got to do that on the other side of the ball. They have to put pressure on the quarterback. their leading person with the most sacks last year, I don't want to say sacker, the person with the most sacks last year only had 5 sacks in Jacob Rodriguez last year. Nobody really kind of came close to making that type of impact besides him. That's going to be a huge thing to work on. But when you look at the pieces in place, when you look at what they brought in, what Joey McGuire is trying to build, this is a team that should be contending for the Big 12. They certainly have the potential to break through and win the Big 12 championship. The question is, will all those transfers mesh together? Will that come and add to a successful season for the Texas Tech Red Raiders? We're going to have to watch and find out. So right now, we're going to take our first break of the show. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about Big Ten, SEC, everybody's favorite debate. But we're going to dive into all of that when we come back on the GSMC College Football Podcast.